Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the M42 Adventures podcast. We are on a roll, three down, thousands to go, hopefully. So today we have Paul Silvis joining us. He is the owner of the Buffelspan Game Lodge in South Africa. We're going to dive into some of the questions that I have for him is how did it, come to be? How do you end up in Africa? He's originally from Idaho. Dreaming big and living the adventure, semantics and logistics on how to actually get to Africa and enjoy this experience and get home, safety, the conservation and giving back to the community, experiences we are offering, and some of the pitfalls that I've had in my own life trying to get to Africa myself. So we're going to jump into this conversation. I'm excited for this one, and let's go. And basically just want to jump into, Paul is our Africa connection. He owns you own it, right?
We do own Buffelspan, yes.
We put the mic up just a little closer to you, Paul. That good? Let's hear you.
Perfect.
Yeah, yep, that's great. Paul's got so basically with M42 Adventures, we're going to be doing experiences and retreats. The one we're launching with this year is going to be a hunt in Africa. We've got 3 dates set aside for Africa, and that's why we brought Paul in to kind of, explain to people. Africa is a bucket list on everybody's list, right? It's the top. At the same time, there's a lot to it. It's very unknown, scary, expensive, whatever all these words are, and so we just want to kind of break down what they're getting, what we're offering together. So we've kind of partnered up, so I have some questions just to dive into to let people understand. We've got Ryan Mickler here as well, who's a partner with M42 Adventures, and just anything you want to add to the conversation, Ryan. On that.
I'm here to listen and learn. Actually,
yeah, me too.
I might have a question or two, but we'll see how it goes.
And you're going. Ryan is signed up. He's the headliner for the second week, August 5th to the 11th, and so you signed up. So it's your first time to Africa, correct?
Yeah, I was going to go last year, but it ended up not working out. So I was excited to go, and it fell through kind of at the last minute. So this is a makeup, so I'm excited about it.
You'll absolutely love it. You'll fall in love with Africa. Everybody does.
What is it? Because I mean, when I think about Africa, I think there's just you just think of a vast desert, right? And so, but you hear that. I hear that from a lot of friends who fall in love with not only the hunt, but just the country in general. And I'm just curious, like, what is it that people fall in love with?
A lot like Molokai. Every time we pull up to Molokai, and people are like, "Man, this feels like Africa." And every time I say, "You been to Africa?" No. But I feel like this is what
this is what it should look like.
And my connection with Paul is actually Molokai. That's how I got his information was with Dez, and so he has property in Molokai.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Oh, so yeah, Des and Christy and I go. My wife and I, we go way back. They come over several times a year. We're over there several times a year.
Does it feel very similar, or are we just off? Does Dez's property feel a lot like Africa?
Similarities. When you said that, I thought, you know what, he's right.
The red dirt, dry, you know.
Yeah, just arid, dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. I mean, obviously, South Africa is such a vast continent. It's very diversified, but a lot of that perception comes from I think movies, National Geographic, things like that we grew up watching with the Kalahari, which is nothing but a vast desert. Where we are in the Limpopo Valley in South Africa, we're 8 kilometers from the Botswana border. And so it's a much different terrain. It's still very flat, but lots of trees, lots of agricultural farms and ranches around us. So you'll really enjoy that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
And so South Africa is and again, I just know nothing, so let's start there. South Africa is a country.
The whole entirety, yes, is a country.
It's a country because everybody says, "Where are you going in South Africa?" And I'm like, Limpopo, and I think that's but South Africa is the country, and then Limpopo is a region in the country.
Exactly.
Because when you hear South Africa, you think, like South America. It's a continent, but Brazil's in South America. There's nothing. South America is the country.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, just like Africa is the continent,
right?
South Africa is a country within
Africa.
Africa.
Which is. Yes,
and within that you have the regions, almost like we are broken down into states.
Okay. So Limpopo's a region.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, basically, I just wanted, I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of, we're starting to market these hunts the last couple weeks and talk about them, and people have questions. There's just it's a big expenditure. It's a lifetime, thing that they've saved up for and they want to go do. And so I just wanted to kind of run through, what is Buffelspan, and tell us a little bit about the process. One thing that my parents are actually coming. My dad's been to Africa 4 times. My mom's been twice. And I actually didn't even pitch them. I'm like, they've been so many times. My dad's shot, I think everything there. And so I didn't even go to them. And they actually saw one of my posts and said, hey, you're doing these Africa hunts. What is it? And I said, I didn't want you to feel obligated. You're my mom, And she says, no, I'm looking at like the helicopter ride and the photo safari and going to an orphanage. She says, when I've gone there, it's just been, I stay on the ranch and I hunt. And she says, I love that. It's amazing. But this looks like more of an experience, more traveling than a hunting, And I says, that's absolutely what it is. And so they signed up and they're excited, after seeing your accommodations. The accommodations that they had were not near what the videos show. And so, I think what you are offering, and we've talked a lot, is just a next level on what we're trying to do here. So yeah, run us through one thing she mentioned was you have a girl who helps us book the flights, helps us, with the process. And she says that is so valuable. And I'm actually going to get into a story a little bit and later about my experience with Africa. And if I would have had, what's the girl's name?
Jessica.
Jessica. If I would have had a Jessica, I probably would have been to Africa one time.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I'll tell that in here in a little bit. But run us through kind of, the process, the safety, what the facilities are, and what Buffelspan actually is.
Sure. How about if I start with a little bit of background of how it came to be?
That'd be great.
Okay. So,
yeah, how'd you get into it?
My wife and I are avid bow hunters. Elizabeth and I have been very fortunate to go a lot of different places in the world, and we fly fish and we bow hunt. That's our thing.
Okay.
And so for 2021, for her Christmas gift, I got her a safari, and I vetted 3 or 4 different companies. Of course, with South Africa, everybody they're all yes people. They'll tell you yes about anything. And then they'll try to figure out how to make it happen. And then when it doesn't happen, then there's some reason why it didn't happen.
Yep.
So we went over, and the first time we were there, we had a great time. We went to 4 or 5 different concessions, and that's something that people might want to understand is here in the United States, we call them ranches. Over there, they're referred to as concessions.
Got it.
Interchangeable.
Okay.
And we got over there and just fell in love with it. It's like stepping back into the 70s. It's very tranquil. When you first get into Johannesburg, it's like every big city, right? You want to get out of there as quickly as you possibly can.
No doubt.
And I'll go into that here in just a minute. And so what happened was we got home, like a lot of us that go somewhere new, and you get enamored, right? And we weren't home 2 weeks, and we're like, we got to go back.
Okay.
We got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So we went into June and stayed into July for about 3 weeks, and then we went back in October and stayed into November, specifically to visit some ranches. And we looked at them, and we found some nice ranches. The last one we went to was just a kind of a fluke of how we got there, and it was actual Buffelspan.
Okay.
We ran into and met with for several days Johan and Diane Liebenberg, who are now our business partners there. And they had developed this ranch, and they took no shortcuts. Well, they started building Buffelspan in 2018 and finished it in 2020. We all know what happened with the pandemic.
Right.
So it was never opened. And when we were there in 2021, the end of 2021 or 2022, I started asking, and the Liebenbergs are such phenomenal people. They spared no expense on the facility itself, but more importantly, on the animals and the gene pools that we have. And so we went along, and we came home, and we thought, we'd really like to do that. That's our nature. That's a background that I've had. And we thought, there's no way we could own a ranch in South Africa. And then the more we thought about it, we said, let's figure this out. So we put together a partnership. and it's a 50-50 partnership between the Liebenberg family and the Silvis family. And the whole preface in putting this together was not about a financial decision. It was not about making money. For me, it was something that I wanted to create, my wife and I wanted to create, so that the first time person from the United States or anywhere in the world could go there and have the African experience that they thought they were going to have without the repercussions. And so bringing in the side of the U.S., knowing what the U.S. clientele is looking for, what we expect, and how to make that happen in conjunction with the South African way of life and the dream that everybody has to go there. Because there's nothing worse than having a childhood dream, building it up your entire life, saving up, and now you get to go, and it's not what you thought it was going to be.
Absolutely.
None of us want that.
Yeah.
So over the past year and a half, we've put this together. And actually, in 2024, this is the first year that Buffelspan has been open to the public for hunting on a private ranch.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
What was the reason for, because you have your business partners, but it sounds like they already had everything established before. So what was their reasoning for bringing you guys in as partners?
So that was a great question. I had that too. Johan and Diane have a separate business, their primary business. They're engineers. And what their company does is they go into these mines before they're built, and they put all the infrastructure in. That's what they know, and they've done very, very well. What they didn't know was the business end of how this would work with clientele, with running a lodge, and developing that.
The American standards that you're bringing as well.
That's what we brought to the table. So it was really a perfect fit. And these people are wonderful, wonderful people. In our family, it's always family first. We got lots of kids. They've got lots of kids. And so we've just meshed very, very well.
Yeah.
And we have somebody there full-time. We have a full-time staff of 8 people that are from Zimbabwe and Botswana that have been there. Trusty, he's the GM for the ranch. He's been on the ranch now 15 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So he knows it really well.
He's when it was just a hut.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. So he's helped build and create all this. You'll love Trusty and the other people, Simon and everybody else that we have in hand. So what we've done, Rick, is put together a package that said, okay, I'm going to a new country. I'm a first-timer. We've all seen the news on South Africa, the stability or instability of it. How do we make that so that I can take my children, I can take my wife and feel safe?
And you take your daughter there. Your baby will go there?
Yeah, we're headed over. Her first time will be here in about 3 weeks.
Okay, and no concern. Just
No
good to go.
concern at all.
Okay, because I'm going to be taking my, potentially my 3 little boys, and one of them's 3, and people hear that, and they're like, and I'm like, from what Paul's told me, we're good to go, and so yeah.
So what we did was we took the basis of Buffelspan, we put our ideas together, we took out what I call the nickel and diming, which is very popular in South Africa. Somebody says this is what's included in your package, but if you happen to have an extra beer, if you happen to have 2 extra waters, you get your tab at the end, and all of a sudden you're like, well, what's
it's like
this
a cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
You get done and spend more on the tab than the cruise.
And exactly. And we thought Americans don't operate that
No.
way. We don't want the fine print. We want to know exactly what we're going to get from the time we leave, or what we call door to door. So we put it together and worked with Johan and Diane on this and putting these packages together where truly they're all inclusive. The only things that are not included are the travel, the taxidermy work, and the tips. Everything else is included in what happens.
And travel, airfare. Once you hit the
yeah.
ground, it's all covered from
exactly.
door to door. It's just the airfare.
Right.
Yeah.
So we wanted Ryan to be able to come over, bring his wife, significant other, 27 kids, whatever he's got, and know, you know what? These guys got me.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yes.
If he decides, hey, you know what? Above and beyond my package, I'd like to take the kids up in the helicopter. I'd like to go on a big 5 game drive. I would like to, go on a boat ride, go fishing for the day. He can add that while he's there. And then above and beyond that, if he's got a set package of 4 or 5 or 10 animals and he gets there and sees something that he'd never thought of, he can add that as well to his list.
Yeah.
And we've made it very, very simple for that. So let me walk you through the process. What will happen is when we will help you or assist you in your flights. We'll tell you which ones we would recommend.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and roll this out. When you're going to South Africa, you can have a 24-hour flight, or you can have a 40-hour flight.
All right.
The 40-hour flight might be a little less expensive,
Right.
but you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
16 hours, you're sitting in Germany or somewhere else. The other thing that we have learned is, and I'm going to tell you from years of international travel, is anytime you touch down for
Chances
a
of
layover
losing luggage.
in a country that's not your country you're going to, you have a 50% chance of not getting your luggage.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
And so we try to tell people, pay a little bit extra, take your flight from our ground here in the U.S., which is the East Coast, to Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be your shortest flight, and on top of that, your luggage is going to be with you.
Right. My parents actually, so when I talked to my mom, they just went 4 or 5 years ago. And every time I ask her, I says, how was Africa? And she says, it's absolutely amazing. It changes you. And my flight was horrible. Every time.
Yeah.
And they spent 10 hours in Dubai on the way there and 10 hours on the way back. And she says, I don't know what we saved. I didn't book the flights, but it was not worth it. She's like, it was just horrible. You know, she's 70 years old and they're laying on the floor of an airport for 10 hours and she just doesn't get it, you know? So that's a good point. I think it's very well to bring up because that's something that she didn't realize. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you travel 40 hours and you get to Africa and you're exhausted and your back hurts and your knees hurt and you're trying to get up, you know, a day later to go hunt, it's just not
miserable.
right. It's miserable.
Yeah.
It is miserable, and you have to understand that if you're going to Africa, and all of us, this just doesn't apply to hunting or fishing or anything else, but it's always time versus money.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to remember the extra couple $100 you spent on the flight, but you will remember sleeping on the airport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, good point.
And so there's a rime and a reason to how we do it and why we've done it that way. And fortunately, we had somebody on our first trip to say, "Hey, don't do that 40-hour trip and save $300.
Yeah.
Do it this way." And I
Right.
was so glad. So once you arrive into Johannesburg, typically the flights from the U.S. are going to arrive between about 4 and 7 at night.
Okay.
You'll go through customs, which our people have already talked to about it. That's why we have to get passports and things up front.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will meet you at the airport. You do not leave the airport without us.
Right.
All your luggage, everything, we have people in place. So the first night, what happens is we go to Pretoria. Pretoria is about 25, 30 minutes from Johannesburg. It is a gated community, and it is where the #1 golf course in South Africa is located. We have a really nice, large house there, and everybody will stay there. They will have supper, have a good night's rest, and then the next morning have breakfast, and then we leave between 7 and 8 to get to Buffelspan by about 11:30.
So that's like a 3.5 hour drive from there.
It's about 3 to 3.5
Okay,
hours.
yeah.
One thing I will prepare you for are the roads in Africa are not the smoothest.
Yeah.
You can be driving along and hit a pothole, you're going to lose your vehicle. And it's not uncommon to see axles broken and all kinds of stuff. Fortunately, we've got a pretty good route we take.
Well, and I like the fact that, you know, when you told me that you get there, you know, I've gone on several trips where you land and it's go. And you're just worn out. You're just done. And so that really, you know, made me feel good to where we get there, there's no pressure. You hop off the plane, you go on a 20-minute ride, and you're in a nice, comfortable bed with a full belly, good night's sleep. You're not getting up at 3 a.m., you know, 7 or 8 in the morning. You can adjust to the time, let your body rest, and then enjoy that ride. You know, for me, it's the experience. You see so much when you're, you know, you actually said, hey, we can get you a flight. If you want to fly from Johannesburg to the ranch, you can. And I was like, man, I want to do the drive. I want to be down there just, you know, seeing what it's about. That's what the travel is for me, you know? And so I think that's a big bonus to get there and have that first night and not have to run right to the lodge.
What are some of the requirements as far as shots and vaccines and all of that go into it?
So there are no
there isn't?
requirements.
Okay,
yes.
I didn't know that.
We took a suggestion and we updated our tetanus shot and things like that, but
Right.
nothing. You're not worried about malaria or any of that
Right.
kind of stuff at this
Interesting.
point. And when we first went over, it was interesting. When we left the U.S. soil, everybody was still masked up in the U.S. as well as globally. Mid-flight on the 15 hours from Newark to Johannesburg, they announced the mandate has been dropped.
Oh, really?
So when we landed, masks were off.
Yeah.
And we went through that ordeal for what, 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be able to finally breathe and
Yeah.
We were in Molokai a year after masks were off, and they were still
were
wearing
still
them and
doing it.
yelling at us. I mean, we got in trouble. Matt got yelled at a grocery store because we still had to wear masks, and he pulled it down to Itch's nose, and she's like, "Keep it up," and we're like, "It's over. It's been over. Do you guys not get the news here?" And they're like, "Just remember going into
I do
town." And
remember.
finally, we're like, "We're not going into town anymore,
Yeah,
man.
we
We
just
just
stayed outside
yeah,
town.
yeah."
Which
but-
I'd rather do anyways.
yeah, me too.
I mean, it sounds like your guys'
big city.
place is amazing. Yeah.
The big city.
city in Molokai.
Yeah,
You've been there.
oh yeah.
yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but I can't ever say it.
I don't know.
But anyway, yeah. So
We do have some groups that will come in, and this is probably not a fit for what we're doing here, but they'll want to spend that first day on the golf course.
I know. I told one Spencer's a huge golfer, and Woody,
Really?
and they were talking about that, and I says, well, we can look at something. I don't know. It's obviously it's not in our package, but yeah, I like that you have
If you had
Options.
enough guys and they were willing to, it would just be an extra transportation fee. Is what it
Okay.
would be.
Yeah.
So
And that's what I like about this. I told my wife, she's actually got a couple people coming that are not hunters. They're not even hunting. They're just, coming as the non-hunter, package. And she says, yeah, they're just going to come and want to go on the photo safari and the plane ride or helicopter ride. And they want to, I told her, I said, you guys can get massages. You can, so I like that there's some other stuff there for people to come experience it and, not necessarily have to pull the trigger,
exactly. And it's that's a very interesting statement, Rick, because probably more than 50% of our clientele are non-hunters.
Oh,
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
high like that.
We have people, this last December, we had 22 people come in from Australia. This is how nice Buffelspan is, just as an end destination to get married.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Cool. Yeah.
They just wanted to see the animals and get married in the
That's cool.
environment. So
Yeah.
it is, we're seeing more and more of that. Back to what you were talking about, when you land in Johannesburg, we take you to Pretoria, you get a good night's rest. And because it's 5 or 6 at night, you're in bed, we're all wound up, you're getting excited about what's going on. You slept for a few hours or 10 hours on the plane.
Right. Hopefully.
And, yeah. And then you get there, you have dinner, you visit, go to bed. Then you get up and you're on their schedule.
Yeah. Right.
There's very little jet lag going.
Yeah.
Coming back,
Yeah.
plan
Good
on
luck.
2
It's
weeks.
rough, really. Try to catch back
It's
up
a
and
rough,
get back
it's
into
a rough
it.
Yeah.
9-hour time change
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
What's the time change, did you say?
It's half the year it's 9 hours and half the year it's 8 hours.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Plus the 2 hours from here to New York or Florida or wherever. you
Right.
fly
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a morning phone call every morning. It's at 8 o'clock our time, and it's whatever 3 in the afternoon their time,
Right.
4 in the
Yeah.
afternoon their time, and then usually if there's something else we need to discuss, they'll call about 10 o'clock at night, which is 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just got in that rotation, business stuff, and
Yeah.
that takes
Interesting.
care of.
So you get to Buffelspan, 3-hour drive, pull up, and staff's there. And,
Pull up, we dump you out, and you're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck.
Don't pet the lion.
Yeah.
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 It's sad. You probably actually need to tell people that.
Yeah, I actually just bought. Gina called me 2 days ago, and she's like, did you order the DVD? I'm gonna do what are the Sarajevo, the Cats of Sarajevo, or whatever.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
it called?
Oh,
Sarah.
Ghost
Ghost in the
Ghost in
Darkness.
the Darkness.
Yeah,
She's like, why'd you order the DVD? And I'm like, I ordered a book. I want to read it to the boys at night. Is it a
Yeah.
DVD? And she's like, let me open it. And she's like, no, it's a book. And I'm like, so I started reading it to my boys, my 12-year-old and 10-year-old, and that's amazing.
it's a
Unbelievable.
tremendous.
The show is one of my favorite shows.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, hopefully. And my boys said, when we're in Africa, is this going to happen? I says, we hope not. We hope not. I says, just get in the pool, get in the middle of the pool. They don't like water, maybe.
Yeah.
But
we won't have it.
I'm getting them prepped.
Yeah.
We'll keep them right by
keep them on the edge.
Keep them right by the I was going to say hut. What do you call them?
It's a chalet.
Chalet.
Yeah, you'll have a chalet.
Yeah. Okay.
And what is that? What's the arrangement with that?
So we have 8 chalets,
Uh-huh.
and then we have 2 eating areas, and outdoor kitchen, indoor kitchen, and the main lodge.
Okay.
Everybody that comes, for example, Rick and his wife and kids, we'll put them in a chalet. It's like a mini house.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have all to yourself. It's all self-contained. You've got hot water. Like I said, for being in the middle of South Africa, there was no expense shared. We don't even know how they got things to the ranch.
Really?
It's pretty amazing.
That was a big thing that sold my mom, because where they went, they had bought it here at a banquet, the hunts.
Oh, right.
And not to knock anybody, but she just said it was different. It was a different experience. It was a little hut where she had, what are those little animals with the orange eyes? They called them fur babies.
Oh,
I can't remember the name of them though, but it's like they're these little like wombat looking little squirrels.
Really?
And she says they were up in the rafters, like running around and stuff. And my mom loved them. So she started putting out like a little piece of meat or something or whatever, fruit. And my dad came home one day and they were laying there at night and they turn on the light and there's like 8 of them up there. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, I've been feeding them. But my sister and my stepsister were terrified. They just didn't like it. They're hearing noises and, it scared them. My mom's like me, like Ryan was saying.
I was going to say, I wonder where
Yeah.
you got that.
Yeah. I'm the guy that'll have them like on my shoulders and walking around, have a pet one by the end of the trip. But
Rick just sings like Cinderella or something.
Yeah,
And all the
calls them in.
animals, like, land on his shoulder and hands. And
yeah. So, but yeah, their facilities, it's unbelievable.
it's really nice. I will say this. I'm not sure about Utah, but there is not a lodge that nice in all of Idaho.
Oh, wow.
Including Sun Valley.
Wow.
Because of the amenities we have and the way it's taken care of. And you have to remember, your group will be one of the first groups to de-virginize this lodge.
Yeah,
really
right.
Coming in.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. You had a question just a minute ago about how that comes about and how those chalets, each chalet, like we have one, and it's all in Afrikaans, but we have the elephant chalet, we have the kudu chalet, we have the Gimsbach chalet, and they are all a little different layout. They're not cookie cutter.
yeah.
They're all individually
Unique.
designed. We commissioned the same artist to do all the artwork throughout. We didn't just purchase it. We had it commissioned. So the artwork is unbelievable. And then depending on if you're single, if you have a significant other, if you have a bunch of kids, there's different chalets to accommodate
That'll fit for whatever you're needing.
And in the chalets, they have, we have the simple things, not that you'll ever use, toasters, coffee makers, microwaves, and stuff like that, because you have a staff that serves you anytime you want.
Oh, really?
It's all taken care of, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hot water, everything's very open floor plans, very, very clean. In fact, people ask us, what do you do when hunters are not here or when you don't have people at the lodge? The staff has been instructed, whether people are there or not, they clean every chalet every single day. So it's very, 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 very tidy. People will come and say, man, my house is not that nice.
Well, and you just got certified. You just emailed me the certificate a couple weeks ago. It just got certified 5 stars.
5-star.
And they come out, they inspect it. It's not, it's not just.
Yeah, that's not a certificate you can purchase online.
Yeah, and that's, that's what I mean. It's
They
something.
come out with the white glove and they go through everything, and they'll tell you, hey, your towels, you got these last year. They need to be updated.
Wow.
They'll say, well, we haven't had any guests. They don't care.
Wow.
So
yeah.
we did everything to do. But yeah, we went from a 4-star, which is very nice. There's probably 10 4-star lodges in all of South Africa to a 5-star, and there's very, very, very few 5-star lodges, truly internationally certified 5-star lodges.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that's what I liked about this when I first met you and started talking with you. And I have connections on other places. I told you my dad's been there several times. My brother's been there. And when I saw your videos and I saw your accommodations, it was just better, to put it plainly. It's like I said, I want to come there and I want to be, for me, we go to Hawaii. You've been to Dez's place. I've slept in the tin can, in the old cargo
Big
container. I stayed there for
containers.
17 days one time, 17 days in a row. In that, have you stayed there above the butcher shop? Have you seen that room?
Yeah.
17 days I did there, and I felt like I was on a prison sentence towards the end. I'm like, I'm doing
That
time.
place.
I'm in the hole.
Till we got that Spalding Lodge, and even that
Oh,
was
dude.
an upgrade.
Dude,
It's not
we-
like you're talking here.
We go to the Spalding Lodge. We walk out on the deck, and my foot falls through the floor, and I'm like, and people are like, "Oh, it is kind of run down." I'm like, "You need to go." Like, we have several friends who have only stayed
They've
at
only stayed at
Spalding,
the
and I'm like,
lodge.
"We're gonna go down, and you're gonna spend an hour above the butcher shop with no heat, with
no
the
heat,
black
no
flies.
no electricity.
Yeah, no electricity. We were fighting over the generator.
Watching the mongoose run around.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Catch
Yep.
the rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were down there, and they had that little generator, which we wasn't supposed to use. And finally, Brandon Lilly says, "I'm using it. Des can come." He's a world-renowned bodybuilder.
A power lifter.
Yeah, and he's like, "Des can come tell me not to use it. I'm using it." And he goes down there and starts it up. And so we have like 9 phones trying to be plugged into this thing, but there's 7 of us, and we got it to where we could do like 4. And I'd come down in the morning. We'd all get back to camp and be like, "Okay, what's everybody's battery
Yeah,
at?"
whoever's lowest battery.
Like 93,
they get to plug in.
75, 12. Oh, you get it. The 4 lowest. And then Scott kept pulling it out. He'd go over there and sneak over and
Yeah.
unplug it. I'd come over and my cord's like laying in the dirt. And anyway, I digress. But I've stayed in some pretty rough accommodations. But, with my wife and 3 little kids, it's like I want something nice. And, the pool, I'm going to be off hunting, stuff like that. And, it's not just an experience for the hunter. It's an experience for everybody that came.
Yeah.
And that to me was very important. And that's, why we partnered up here.
Another thing that I should touch on when people are listening, many of the ranches in South Africa, the concessions, they have a season to make their money. And so they're running through people, they'll run 100, 150, 200 guys through there, just like processing. And they do drop and shoot hunts where they purchase animals, put them on the ranch. You send a list of what you'd like. They buy it a week before, and you go in there and shoot the animal. And it's not hunting. We don't do drop and shoot. We breed on the ranch.
Okay. That's good
We
to
have
know.
2,200 deeded acres that are exclusive just for the bow hunters.
Yeah, you told me that. That's a big deal. That's a lot like what Des does, where being a bow hunter, I'm gonna shoot rifle when I'm there, just because, like you said, it's a one-off.
If you're there, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make
High
sure I get
success,
them, and
yeah.
I'm not a real good bow hunter. I think I am, but anyway, yeah, I really was drawn to that, to where you have set that aside, because that's, a lot of people, that it's just different. When you hunt animals that have been shot at and chased around with a gun, it's completely different than having 2,200 acres, which is a huge,
Is everything there is high fenced, right?
It is.
Yeah,
All
I
the
didn't know that.
concessions
They're all
Africa
high
is
fence.
high
Yeah, I never knew
Yeah.
that. All of them. I
Yeah.
never knew that.
That's
All
what
of
I
them
thought.
are.
It's like Texas,
Yeah. Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Only the ranches are a lot bigger.
Yeah, right.
So that's set aside, and I'll touch on the hides for a second. Here, the hunters will know them as blinds.
Yeah.
In South Africa, they're called hides.
Oh, got it.
A lot of times, a hide is just a stack of bushes are up. Our hides are, I'm going to call them state-of-the-art for the bush, because they're all fully made out of wood structures. They sit on concrete pads with carpet. They each have a bed in them, as well as chairs.
Oh, I like that. Ryan knows me.
And
Yeah.
we
In
are
Minnesota, I always go to sleep.
Yeah.
And they get mad at me. Hey, bro, a buck walked
Yeah,
under
we get
you.
mad at you because you wake up, shoot one, and go back to
I,
sleep.
yeah, I luck out. Yeah, yeah. They find me. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, they find me in other blinds. I'm like, that blind over there looks warmer, and I'll move.
He
And the
moves.
owner of the land's like, quit getting out of the blinds, bro. And I'm like, well, that bed's softer. I know all these beds. I hate mornings. Which in Africa, do you get up early, or you still do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were running around all the time.
So
No.
you're hunting morning and night, essentially?
We're gonna hunt. I'll go into that in just a second.
Okay, I
Let me
didn't
finish
realize
with
that.
the hides.
Yeah,
'cause
sorry.
This is the best part, especially for the women.
Okay.
We are the only concession ranch in South Africa that has put in a separate restroom with a flush toilet.
Oh,
in
that'll
our
be
hides.
huge.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's huge.
Most of the time, the first 2 trips I went on, you're peeing in a bottle.
Right.
And it makes it kind of difficult for women.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They learn how to do it, but because you don't leave the hide because you train the animals, right?
Right.
And that's how it is. But we actually have built separate rooms on that you go into. You have a flush toilet. You don't have to leave.
That's only bow hunting though, right?
That's on the bow hunting.
You don't hunt hides with a rifle.
No.
Okay.
No.
So let's take a quick break from my conversation, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things that M42 Adventures has coming up this year. One is an African experience where you can come out to Africa with some of the owners of M42 Adventures, me, Ryan Mickler, and you can actually hunt an animal, or you can do a photo safari. We've got helicopter tours. We're going to go give back and visit orphanages. Really try to make this an experience, not just a hunt, but something that you can come out and really experience Africa. The second thing is we've got experiences in Utah where you can come out to a 50-acre ranch, spend 4 days with us, and we're going to have just a large amount of activities: horse riding, UTVs, fly fishing, outdoor cooking, survival, archery. It's absolutely going to be amazing. So jump on those. The dates are in July, August, and September of this year. Love to meet you. Love to spend time with you. We're going to have fireside chats. We're going to work on not just the physical and outdoor activities, but as well as the mind, body, and soul, and really try to help people level up. Our motto is educate, experience, and evolve. We're going to give you the education. If you're new to these things, never hunted, never shot a bow, never ridden a horse, we're going to educate you and get you to that next chapter, which is experience it and actually get on the horse and shoot the bow, whatever it is, and then evolve, level up. That's what we're all trying to do in life. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations and go to the next level. So would love to see you out there. You can go to m42adventures.com, get more information, and let's get back to the conversation.
We do have the option of hunting some on the open ranch, and we have another 22,000 acres on the open ranch.
Okay.
On top of that, we have 3 additional leases combined over 100,000 acres.
Okay. Wow.
So there's lots and lots
of
and
area.
lots of things, and we can accommodate any type of hunter. In August of this year, September of this year, we do a lot of work with the veterans.
Okay.
And we've got veterans groups that are coming over. And
Ryan's a vet.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So I'll give them just a quick plug. It's Wishes for Warriors. They're based out of Idaho. And it is for combat vets that are at least 70% disabled.
Oh, that's cool.
Whether it's emotional, physical, whatever. The majority are emotional. But the reason I touch on that is because some have they don't have the ability to be able to move very well. So we can accommodate anybody. We have people come in wheelchairs. We have people that have recently broken a limb or something. We put them on a truck. We can get them so they can still enjoy the hunt.
I love it.
So how then do you describe the hunting for the rifle hunters? I mean, are we hunting from trucks and driving around? Is it like traditional spot and stock? What does that look like?
So you're going to, yes on all of that.
Okay.
So if you're going to spend some time on the trucks, we're going to locate an animal. Or
Do you have a PH, which is a
yes,
personal hunter or
a professional hunter.
professional?
So that's your guide essentially.
Your guide
right?
is with you. You do not go pee without that guy.
Okay.
Just because of safety reasons. And these guys are experienced. They have to go through very rigorous training classes and have years and years and years of experience with all kinds of animals. And the higher you get up the animal ranking list, like the Cape buffalo, the lion, the leopard, things like that, the PHs have to escalate with
Well,
that.
yeah. I mean, then you're talking about predators now, and so right. Sure.
It changes. So
So it's 1-to-1. Is that, or how does that work? Or
it'll
you
be
get
a
group?
1-to-1. Yeah, and sometimes it'll be a 2-to-1.
Yeah.
On there.
That's fine. Yeah.
Especially if you've got
Going after the
your
same
spouse
animal. You're
wants
both
to
going
see-
after
yeah.
impala, and you both, whatever. Yeah.
So essentially, we'll spend some time in the trucks. We'll find a herd. You're looking for a Gims-buck or kudu or something like that. Spot it from way off.
You leave in the dark. You get up at like you
it's
head out
gonna
of
be
daylight.
first light. Yeah, you're going to be right there at that gray
Yeah,
light.
okay.
Is going out.
Okay.
Especially with the rifle hunters. Here in the U.S., you got to be up at 3 o'clock to be on the mountain by 4:15.
Right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
the elk are
Right.
in bed by 5.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a different concept over there.
Okay.
It's more of an enjoyable hunt, I would say. And so then you pick out the animal, the PH will say, hey, Ryan, you know what? That kudu's 55, 57 inches is a mature bull. Do you like it? I like it. Let's go after it.
Cool.
You take off.
That's where I imagine a lot of people, because if you put me in a stand in Minnesota, I'd tell you that's a good deer, that's not a good deer, that one needs a year or two, that one doesn't. But I'm out there, how would I know what is a mature bull, what is a shooter, what is not?
You wouldn't.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
First time.
Right. So
First
having
time.
somebody there to be able to say, hey, this is a decent animal, that's probably invaluable.
And first and foremost, it's for safety. Secondly, it's regulation.
Right.
And third is we want you to be able to take the trophy that you want to take. Mm-hmm. And
A lot of times it'll be, even my dad said, he says you'll get into like wildebeest and there's a bigger bull. I don't know if you call it, but there's like a golden one or a different color. And he's like, man, I like the color of that one. It's not as big. And then the PH can say, take it, or not, or that's a different animal, that's a different wildebeest, because there's golden, blue, black. So I think with Africa, from what I'm learning, just in my short time of, 90 days and being involved with Paul, there's so many variations and things that, like when we go out hunting in Hawaii, a lot of people have looked at the black bug and almost drawn back.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, dude, that's a black
Don't shoot
buck.
that.
And they're like, oh, is it? I'm like, yeah, there's no spots, and they're like, oh, okay. And that's two species.
Right.
And to me, they look pretty far apart, but I'm sure out there you can get, some really, you could probably pull the trigger and make a big mistake.
So then you stalk into them essentially from there once you locate the herd.
Yeah.
And
we can make your hunt as adventurous you want to make it, or we can make it as simple as you want to make it too.
when you say adventurous, like, what do you mean by that?
To get you out spot and stock.
Like more work essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I would like. I would rather go out there and try to earn the animal than, shoot it off the hood of a truck.
What's the likelihood of running into a situation where you are confronted with a predator?
So
They carry a gun as well, right? The PH.
yeah. The PH is.
You just have to outrun the PH, is what I've been told, right? That's this. I know I can outrun. Well, I don't know. You're probably pretty quick.
No, not me.
No.
The Cape buffalo are quite dangerous.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, it's a cow. No, it's not a cow.
Right.
Cow will stomp you.
It's like the PBR bull.
Yeah. Right.
It's a bad thing. They'll be protected, but you will be able to hunt at the level that you want to hunt.
Right.
And every night and every morning we have a PH meeting. So if Ryan comes to me and says, hey, you know what? Is there a chance I could go, do some more stock or spot and stock, or just leave from the lodge and put in some miles? If you want to do that, we'll listen to you and we'll accommodate.
I love that because that's how I would be. And then I have like my grandpa Roy who went out, and I know he was very concerned at the time about I'm 81 years old.
Yeah.
I can't get anything. And they're like, we'll get you there. We have options of how we do this, and he got all three of his animals at the time and loved it, so I think I didn't know, I actually am learning with Ryan on this because I love that, because I'm more of that where I want to feel like I've earned it a little bit, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, that's cool.
And people have I don't want to say a stigma, but they say, oh, everything's high fenced. But when you've got hundreds of thousands of acres, the animals don't know that they're high fenced.
Right.
And they're not tame. These are wild. They're bred in the wild. We breed them on the farm naturally. So you're going to see a lot of babies. And that's the other thing for the PH is to say, hey, you say, oh, I really want to shoot that. Well, that's a female. Probably don't want to shoot that. Let's shoot the other one over here.
Right.
They just know those types of things. That's what they're good at. That's their whole entire job. And then you have the trackers. And the trackers are taught since they're 3 years old. And it will amaze you, not to go off on the side here, but it will amaze you. If you have a herd of blue wildebeest and you shoot one and there's 20 in that herd,
they know which
those
one.
trackers will pick out that hoof print.
Really?
Because it relaxes where it's hurt. And they'll be able to track and single out that blue wildebeest and take you right to it.
Really?
My dad said that happened with him where they were in a herd and they shot one. I think it was a wildebeest, and it went off to the side. And they're all walking and following this trail, and the PH starts going over here, and they're like, what are you doing? He's like, it went this way. And they're like, well, all the tracks go this way. And he says, not this one. And I can tell that it's dragging its right foot.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he's like, so this is the wounded one. And they went over and found it. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, so it increases your odds of finding that animal.
And that
We'll
person-
probably learn a ton from that.
And so, so you call that, once you shoot an animal, you call that tracker in, or is he there with you?
He's the PH.
They're well in the same.
The PH, normally, if you've made a good shot, the PH
Can
will
take
track
care of it,
right
sure.
from there.
Right.
If we had clients in there this last week from another country, they're in there from Finland, and one of the clients shot an eland, which is a 2,000-pound animal, in the butt.
Oh.
Took them 2 days to track that eland.
They found it,
because
though?
it kept moving and to put it down. Another one shot a zebra in the butt.
Oh.
How you do that, I don't know. But people get excited. It just happens.
I'll show you.
You bring in the trackers.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Ryan thinks it's a bullseye in the ass.
Isn't that where you're supposed to shoot him?
Yeah.
Let me go back to when you arrive at the lodge.
Okay.
You guys are going to be excited. You're going to be wound up. We're going to have lunch for you. We're going to have a short orientation. You'll meet the PHs. You'll meet Johan and Diane, myself, Elizabeth. We're bouncing back and forth. Going to go through the expectations of the PHs, what you guys can expect from them, as well as the staff, the chef, everybody at the lodge. And then they're going to tell you what they expect from you. So those expectations are on the table up front. Questions are answered. What can we do, can't we do, things like that. After that, then you'll get settled in, probably 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock. By about 3 o'clock, we're going to be heading out for that first evening hunt.
Oh, the day of?
Yeah.
Okay.
That-
And one thing I want to add in here real quick is just you can bring your bow, which is a lot easier than a gun. You can bring your bow. You can bring your own gun, but it has to be silenced. Is that right?
Has to be silenced, and we have to do permits for that.
Oh, yeah. And you'll help us with those if you want to. And then if not, you can rent the gun for $40 a day, which includes ammo.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is probably
I'm going to
the
do
best
that.
route,
I'm
just
going to
to
do
answer
that
yourself.
and just not.
They're
yeah.
the PH's guns and the guide guns that we have. They're all dialed in.
Right.
That's the thing is you bump it in flight. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong with your own. Plus trying
Or
to
not get
travel.
it there.
Yeah. I flew from Vegas to Texas to hunt with Colin.
Yeah.
And I handed it to the lady, went from the counter over to the lady. I said, I want to make sure these get on. I have to have these. It's my boy's first hog hunt ever. He's 12 years old. Got to Texas, called them up, and they're like, your guns are still in Vegas. And the day we were there 4 days, the day we went to fly out, they said, your guns are being put on a plane. I says, don't send them now. I'm headed home. And they had to go grab them off the plane.
Right.
And we hunted with crossbows.
Oh, you did?
Because
That's
Colin,
cool, though,
yeah,
too.
it was fun. But that was Vegas to El Paso or Vegas to San Antonio.
Right.
And they didn't get on the, so do what you want. I know a lot of people are very particular about their rifles and have all that, but I'm going to rent them.
Yeah.
So,
It's very ironic, and I don't want to get on the wrong emotional track here, but it's pretty special. On our first trip, we went to a game ranch, and we were having supper at night. It was probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and it was just at dark. And the owner came up and he said, hey, have you seen any cheetahs since you've been here? Haven't seen any cheetahs. He says, there's 2 brothers coming down the road. If you want to come with me, I'll take you and show them. We left our steaks and stuff.
course, yeah, of
We piled in and
course.
go there. And it was so iconic because we get to where this river crossing and these 2 brothers are going to a kill that they had killed the day before. And they walk this close.
Really?
I mean, from me to you.
Yeah.
My wife just teared up. She said that was one of the most spiritual things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Or seen those animals walk right past you.
yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wild.
There is an opportunity for those that want to go on a night hunt for predators. The predators, the caracals,
What's that? Is that a cat of some sort?
It's like our bobcat.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Things like that, and the big African porcupines and those
Oh,
type
really?
of things. So
Yeah, that'd be fun.
that's always an opportunity as well. I want to touch a little bit more on our vision for Buffelspan. We wanted people to be able to go there, enjoy the true essence of Africa, but we didn't just want to do it for those that were financially capable. We wanted to make it so our pricing was amicable to every walk of life. And that's really what we've been able to accomplish. People have this stigma. They say, oh, Africa is so expensive. And I'll tell them, if you've gone elk hunting in any of the Rocky Mountain states for 3 years and not harvested an elk, you've spent more than you will on a South African hunt to bring home 5 or 6 animals.
Yeah, good point.
I said, when you go out for 2 weeks at a time, you've got your fuel, you've got your time off, you've got all that. You've already burned that money.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if you see an elk. Now you can go somewhere, take your family if you'd wish, and have an experience that is going to resonate for their entire life. When you get home, you'll be planning, when can I go back?
Right.
Well, and that's my dad. He went and hunted a stone sheep in Canada. I think it was Canada. Might have been up into Alaska, but I think it was Canada. And it was like, I mean, this was 10 years ago, and it was $30,000. You know, and he's like, man, I can take everybody to Africa,
Right.
you know, for a week for half that, you know, and it's, you know, I think people are kind of smartening up to that.
What are the what are the conditions like temperature, climate, and then bugs, that sort of thing, that time of year?
So bugs are very few.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would have thought there'd be a lot.
The only time you're going to have bug issues, this happened to me on our second trip over, was if you're crawling through the brush and stuff, you want to check yourself for ticks.
Oh, there's ticks.
There's
Okay.
ticks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rick can check me. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
got
gonna
each other. We
put
got
a
each
tick
other.
collar on you.
that's an added little
Yeah,
package.
yeah.
Rick can check for
Yeah.
ticks for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tips only.
Just the.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
I was
this
gonna,
thing's going
gonna
downhill
say
fast.
it, and you said it. Well, our second podcast, and we're done.
Anyways, back to so
Yeah.
ticks. Got it.
The mornings, Ryan, I suggest to everybody, and we'll give you a suggested list. In the mornings, it'll be cool. You're going to want to wear a jacket, which can double as a raincoat, because
Got
there
it.
is a possibility of rain. By about 9 o'clock, you're going to be peeling clothes.
bet,
It's going to
yeah.
be comfortable. When you guys are going to be there, it's not going to be terribly warm. It'll be, I'm guessing mid-70s to low 80s
Oh, really?
during the day.
Oh, that's nice.
Perfect.
Pretty dry, obviously.
Yeah.
But and then the evenings it may cool down again. So every night we will have a braai, which is like they call it a braai. It's like a barbecue.
Okay.
But they do them in these big brick ovens. You'll be able to sample and taste some of the meat from the animals. It may not be your animal, but of the same
Probably not
species,
Ryan.
just because they have to hang.
He has a hard time
We
finding
know.
his.
We know. It won't be like,
Ryan will be eating sticks.
Rick, can I have some of your Impala?
Yes, again. Story of my life. Didn't I give you an axis or two last year?
Why are you bringing this up?
That's on the record. Yeah.
So,
yeah. We'll share.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that. And that's
Sit around outdoors.
That's cool. You know, it's to come home and say, I ate 7 or 8 different types of meat. I mean, where can you do that? You know, you go to a restaurant here and it's $1,000 to go have, you know, those kind of meats, you know?
One thing I think there might be a confusion on, and I actually don't know. Like you have here, like waterbuck and zebra package. Like, do people eat a zebra?
I was just going to ask that.
They will. Yeah,
Really?
They will. In fact, let me tell you, because this is one of the top 10 questions
I have it on my list, what you're going to
that
say
everybody
next.
asks, is they said, what do you actually do with the animals?
Yeah, I mean, I assumed we'd eat the animals, but there's animals on here. I'm like, do you eat that?
They do.
Okay.
They do eat everything that is, there's nothing wasted.
Good.
So it's interesting because people will come over and they'll say, well, do we get to eat some of our animals? I said, yeah, but you can't eat all of the animals. You got 8 or 10 or 12 people that are hunting.
Sure.
And they've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 animals on their list. You've got piles of things happening. So we consume what we can at the lodge, obviously.
Yeah.
We do donate to the orphanages, but even with that, they can't take
They can't
the
take all
quantity, especially from all these ranches. So then it goes to a butcher shop, and it's packaged and sold on the open market.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
all
that's really
used, and that was, I told Ryan, I got a comment, you're just going to go over there and kill animals and waste them. And I'm like, what, who do you think hunters are? Like I've never in my life wasted an animal I've killed, ever. I've never seen my dad waste an animal. I've never, it's like, yeah, we can't bring the meat back home to America, but that doesn't, we're going to make sure that gets used, it's an animal's life, and I was telling him, it's, we and Ryan were talking about it, about there's such this misconception about hunting in Africa and the monetary value. Like you're going over there and you're going to spend $5,000 to shoot this animal. That's wrong. And my dad was telling me he was on a ranch when he first went over, and you could probably maybe enlighten on this, but they were hunting, and the giraffes were like $3,500 or something to shoot. And again, I'm just making numbers up, but it was a higher number. And the guy says, hey, there was just a ban on something, bringing giraffes to America, or I don't know what happened, but somehow the value of that giraffe was taken. And the guy says they're not valued, and now they're worth $500. And he says, so if you want to go shoot a giraffe, it's $500 now. We're just going to cull them. We're just going to remove them. And, I think you get a lot of these groups that think if I take the value of, being able to shoot a lion and bring it home, I'm saving the lion. But you just put a death sentence on that lion now, because now he has, unfortunately in this world, there's no monetary value for him. You may, there might be some groups that can put some value to it, but hunters are the biggest conservationists. The reason I go up and, spend all this money and do all these things to hunt is because of the value of that animal, the meat and the price, and so I think that there's a big misconception of where when you take the dollar mark off the animal, you're saving it. And in fact, I think it's the opposite. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And we watch it change depending on what's happening. Like when they stopped the import of lions, that lion used to be $35,000 to go and shoot a big mature male. What people need to understand is that drives the economy. It feeds the villages. Right. It's not just lining somebody's pocket. It's a trickle-down system.
It's employing.
Just like in any economy. Now you can go and you can shoot an adult male lion because they're non-importable into the U.S. because of what happened years ago with Cecil. Mm-hmm. And you can pick up that lion for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Right. Yeah.
Which then the people there don't get to reap the economic benefit of having an American come in and spend $40,000.
Say you had 50 lions on your property because they were worth $30,000 each, and now they're worth $5,000, and now it's like, well, I'm going to switch from lions over to buffalo because buffalo get $10,000 to $15,000 each. They're not going to just, I don't think they just set the lions free. Yeah. I don't know what happens, but I'm sure it's not good. And it's like, man, I wish people would just research this more. And I'm excited. That's one of the reasons I travel so much is I want to dive into and understand and talk to the people. Before I have my conceptions of Africa and what they're thinking, but I've never been there. But you sat out on a barbecue one night with 4 locals and have a conversation, and I can come home and say, I've talked to them. They're employed because of these animals. They, it's like I went over there, and that's the other thing is I guarantee a lion or a impala dying by my rifle. I just saw a video the other day. I'm a hunter and I've hunted most of my life, and I saw a video of a zebra getting eaten. It's on Nature's Edge or whatever. What's that?
Nature's Metal.
Yeah. Holy cow. Nature's Metal. There's one in the last few days about it's a zebra getting ripped apart by crocs for minutes and minutes. And it's like, you get those posts of people, you're killing this innocent animal, and it's like, it's going to die anyway. We're going to use it. We're going to, it's going to feed people. It's going to make memories for me and my family. Go watch some of these other videos about, nature is metal.
Including we're part of nature.
100%.
That's what people.
Yeah, we're
we
predators.
Don't get to absolve ourselves from the circle.
Yeah, good
of
point.
life.
Good point.
What I imagine you also have somebody that would help break down the animal or can teach us that, or
We're actually going to have a. They're
instruct
going to.
us on doing it, or what is that like?
You'll be able
Yeah.
to watch. You can participate, but you don't have to do anything.
I think most people.
I put everything, everything on the flyer that we have here. It's you can go on a helicopter ride. It's covered. If you're afraid of flying, you don't have to go. You can go over here and go on a photo safari. It's covered. But if you don't want to, stay by and lay by the pool. If you want to go see how an animal's broken down and learn that, come on over.
Yeah, that's cool. You'll watch the skinners and the trackers. They'll go to work,
That
hanging
part's the
posts right
fascinating
into the
part to me.
freezer.
Yeah. What and
You're
then-
good at it.
And then the way I understand it is, you can't bring meat home, but you can bring. You have it done taxidermied there, whether it's Euro mount, shoulder mount, whatever it might be.
How much
done there,
is
right?
like I had this question. How much is like a zebra rug over there, like roughly ballpark?
We work,
You're good.
work, Rick, with two different, very high-end taxidermists. And though I can't quote that right now,
Yeah.
I will tell you that with the animals that Elizabeth and I had from our first trip, we spent about, comparing it with what we have here at local taxidermist, about $12,000 less
Okay,
than we would have here.
Doing it
substantial.
there. You're
Doing
saying
it there.
right? Okay.
And we had some very specific things that we wanted done, hand carve pedestals and things like that. So we actually went on the upper end.
Okay,
The other thing I would mention at this point is we all have a good taxidermist here. I've been hunting the majority of my life. And what I have found is one taxidermist is not good at everything.
Yeah.
I use one guy for my fish. I use another guy for my bears. That's all he does for me. And another guy for elk, and then another guy for mule deer. That's what they specialize in. And that's Utah and Idaho. They're not used to seeing a zebra. They're not used to seeing a kudu. They're not used to seeing these animals. And they can go on and they can look at pictures, and they're good enough to make it work.
Sure.
But the taxidermy shops in South Africa are so clean, you can eat off the floor. They have full-time cleaning crews, and they have one person, like Ryan, you might do nothing but set eyes.
That's all I do.
That's all you do.
Interesting.
Rick might do nothing but painting the nose. All he does.
Yeah.
And they've got stations. And every day, when your animal goes from this point to this point, not only do they send you an email or a text saying, hey, this is what's going on, they send you 3 pictures of your animal
Really?
in the process. So you can watch it all the way through.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I would highly recommend, because our first trip over, we were certainly going to bring our animals back, because I wanted to make sure that we had control over them. After meeting with the taxidermists, who are wonderful, wonderful people, they've become dear friends of ours now, I would highly recommend, if you're going
Having
to
it done
have
there.
something done, have it done there. They'll come back in a crate. The shipping, you open the crate up, and you've got 10 animals stuck in there.
It's
pretty amazing
Oh,
how
really?
they do it.
They're good.
My
at it.
dad just got his crates like 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like 26 animals,
Whoa.
and he's been waiting a couple years. I think it took a couple years.
Seems like it takes a while.
It's about a year for the process, but then shipping is about 4 months.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
it took
yeah.
him
And
about
put it
2
on-
years,
Put it on
and
boats and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's excited. He just got him and was calling me and says, "Got to come see him all," And I says, "Where are you gonna put him? You've seen? Have you been to his?"
Yeah. He'll find a place.
Yeah,
He's got plenty of room in there. Rick.
yeah. I love it, man. I'm excited.
I'm more excited. I mean, I was excited, but I'm more excited now.
Well, and that's what I wanted to do this for, Ryan. It was because I know you've heard a little bit of me talking. I've had so many conversations with you and Elizabeth, and I feel like I have a very good understanding of it. And, so now I can tell my mom, my dad, any friends and family when they say, hey, I'm interested, we want to come with you in 4 or 5 months. It's like, go listen to this podcast. There's so much information in there, and you can kind of understand what we're doing here. Like I said, and I've been very clear with Paul on this, is I don't want this to just be like every other place. I want people to come. We're going to have firesides. Ryan, you're coming out to one. Just to be able to spend a week with you. People don't understand the value of that. They really don't. You've interviewed thousands of people, written 2 books. It's like to spend a week with you and just hang out and not
not have to.
Yeah, just all the barriers are down, and you're
Right.
sitting by a fire, and it's like, hey man, I'm
And
struggling.
there's 10 to 20 people, not 2,000 people.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. It's
you're
like
doing
people
something
don't understand the value of that. Not even just the knowledge that you're going to get, but the relationship you're going to build.
Right.
You never know what that's going to turn into. You may, like I said, I came on one with you and we're friends, but then you said, hey, that was fun. Let's go to Minnesota together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the purpose of this for my, kind of teaming up with Buffelspan is he has the facility, he has the animals, he has all this great infrastructure. And then I wanted to bring in people and give them, include the helicopter flight, like you said, so they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to deal with, trying to, hey, could we go to an orphanage? It's like, we're going,
Right.
we're going to go give back. We're going to go. And that's where I like with the taxidermy stuff, I'm all about, when I go to somebody's country, me and Gina, we've been traveling for the last 7 years. I eat local. I don't go to McDonald's. It's like these people welcomed me into their country and mostly into their Airbnbs and neighborhoods. I'm going to go next door and I'm going to get the pizza or the burger from this guy, not from, a chain.
Right.
It's just my little way of saying thank you, And so I encourage people that if you're there and you're taking from their company, give back through time, and money. That's what they need, So I'm excited. I'm really grateful my mom and dad are coming. That's, what was supposed to happen with my grandpa. Real quick on the story of that, if we want to take a quick minute. My experience with Africa is, let's see, so 6 years ago, my grandfather died 5 years ago, almost to the day. And we bought a hunting package from a local wildlife banquet here for 4 people, and then we could add more people. And so it was going to be a whole family ordeal, everything like that, and bought it. I was going to take my wife and kids, but we are traveling, we've been traveling. And so we were in town for a bit, and we knew it was going to be a year later. It was 1 year down the road. And I knew that we'd be out of the country for a year. And so I had all these questions. You're going to Africa. It's a big deal. At the time, I wasn't as financially set as I was now. It was a lot bigger investment. And I kept texting the outfitter, the guy that we bought it from, saying, do we need shots? Is it safe? All the questions. And I texted him like 12 or 15 times. I says, listen, I'm going to be, at the time, I'm either going to be in New Zealand or Australia. I'm not sure. It's a year out, but from what I can kind of see, I'm going to be flying. I'm not coming from home. Is there anything I need to be worried about? And my last text from him was, Rick, settle, relax. You've asked all the questions. Everything's fine. I'll see you in a year. Talk soon. And I had my flights. I was in Perth, Australia. Had my flights booked for me and my 2 boys. My family was still all in Utah. And my grandpa actually really didn't want to go. He was like, I don't really need to do this. I'm good. But we hadn't seen each other for like 9 months. And we're inseparable. He literally was my best friend. And so he says, I'm going to go just so I can see Rick and the boys. He was very close with my 2 sons. And so we planned it all out, and we were going to meet in Africa. And we're heading to the airport in Perth, day of the flight. Get to the airport, we're trying to check in, and they says, we need your kids' original birth certificates. And I'm like, what? Original? Like, I can get copies. I can call somebody and get into my safe at my house in Utah and get me some copies. And like, it has to be original. Because they said there was a problem with, child kidnapping. And I says, oh my gosh, okay. So I call up, the time difference, whatever's 4 or 5 hours, and I call up the outfitter. I called him and I says, hey, I won't say his name. I says, but, hey, I'm at the airport in Perth with my 2 little boys. My parents are at the airport in Vegas with my grandpa and my sister, my brother. And they're telling me I need my kids' original birth certificates. And his words were, oh, Rick, give me a second. Let me call you back. Hangs up, sitting at the airport, calls me back, and he says, I wasn't aware. I haven't brought kids. And he says, I think you're okay to get them in, but it might be hard getting them out. And he's like, I think you can still come.
Oh, okay, cool. Let me try that then.
Yeah. And I'm like, so I call my mom. Yeah. Yeah. So I call my mom and I'm like, you're not going to believe it. And she's like, what? You know, the plane broke down. And I says, no, I can't even get there. And my grandpa starts crying and I could hear him in the back. And I'm going to get emotional. And he says, I'm not going. I'm not going if they're not going. And my mom's like, relax, you know. Sorry. I can't talk when I cry. And my kids are crying. And long story short, he says, I'm going back to Utah. I'm not going. And I says, Grandpa, get on that damn plane. We'll go again. You're there. It's set up. You're going to have a great time. And we'll see you on the next one. And it never happened. You know, he passed away 2 years later. We couldn't get back. We rerouted to Thailand and then to London. We spent a month in London. And like everybody says, you know, it cost me thousands of dollars. Don't give a shit about the money. You know, I would have written any check at the time to get there. Couldn't make it happen. Could not make it happen. There's no way around it. And that's my experience with Africa. You know, devastating. You know, he went. I've got his mounts on my wall. He passed away 2 years later. And I want to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen to people. You know, that's what I'm trying to do is make sure, you know, shit happens. I understand that. You know, there's some things that just happen. And when I talked to the guy, I didn't berate him. I says, well, now you know. He says, I'll give you credit. You know, I've never gone back. That was 7 years ago. And just a bad taste in my mouth, you know. So this is special for me to go back with my parents. And I'm emotional, Paul. I'm an emotional guy. But this is a big deal. So, yeah. I'm excited. And I appreciate you, you know, doing what you've done to create this opportunity. And I hope more people will join us. Yeah. I really do. You know, we got spots left. We're selling them, but we've got spots left, and I would love to spend, you know, this, you know, take people on this adventure with us. And I think it's going to be, you know, unforgettable. I think it's going to just be very special. So I hope people can join us. And is there anything you'd want to add, Paul? Sorry about that.
I do want to kind of wrap up in a different emotional kind of state.
Mm-hmm.
And that is guys that are listening to this, wives that are listening to this. If your husband's been one to go hunting and you haven't wanted to because it's just not your thing, Africa is a common denominator. Your husband is not going just to hunt. I will tell you this very loud and clear. The animals are nothing more than a bonus.
Yeah.
But if you want a place to go to reconnect, a place to go to disconnect, and a place to go where you can get grounded again, because we have the innate ability here in the United States to convolute our lives with so much crap that we can't even think straight. We're running from one thing to another just to keep up with what we don't even know we're keeping up with.
Absolutely.
To get there, to relax, to know there's no pressure. People are there to take care of you and to make sure that you have a time of your life. If you didn't have a great honeymoon, if you didn't have a honeymoon, if you have an anniversary coming up, if you just want to do something with your wife or your family, this is a place to connect, not only with the outdoors, but a starting place for you to create the memories for your family, for your children, for you and your wife that you've always wanted to have. And that's what I can promise you.
That's a good point, you know, because a lot of people think that I'm going on this hunt to hunt. And it's like, you're going to get so much more out of things that me and Ryan talked about that on my last, you know, podcast, my first one. This is my second, you know, about the value and you know, when I go, to a retreat, it's not necessarily about riding the horse or, it's about the connections and the, just things that you'd never thought would come from this, and I can see that in Africa. A lot of people are, baffled with my life and traveling for the last 7 years with my wife and 3 kids. My 3-year-old's been to 30 countries. And it's like that for me is, life. That is why I do all this. There's nothing more important to me than time with family, and to go out there and go to Africa. And people always say, I can't believe you flew to Australia. That's 17 hours. And I'm like, 100 years ago, you would have had to get on a boat for 4 months.
Right.
Like now I sit there the flight's annoying, and I'm 6'5", so yeah, it's a little tight. But it's like I sit there and feed my face and watch a movie and sleep and have air conditioning or heat. And it's like, we're so spoiled. Like you can, for just a brief moment in our existence of man, we can go from this continent to that continent in a day. And that is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. Yeah. And I encourage people to get out of their comfort zones, try something new, and you never know what you're going to find. You might find yourself,
The doors will be open. And one thing I believe about our families, Rick and Ryan, are, as parents, our only job is to help our children become good stewards. Our second job is to leave them with nothing but memories.
Absolutely.
So many times I watch parents, mom and dad, chasing their dreams, and those little guys get left behind. They're self-sufficient at 3-4 years old. They've not had a chance to be a child yet. I watched a lady the other day, and she said, if you want your child's childhood to end, give them a phone.
I saw that. I saw that.
And how eye-opening was that?
Yeah.
So I'm just telling the parents out there, if you're thinking you want to do anything, do what you have to do. This is very, very inexpensive for a family trip. And it will create memories for you that will last a lifetime. And as we've talked, this is not just a 2024 thing. The other thing that I just thought of I didn't mention is the fact that we govern how many people come through. So it's not masses of people. Like when your groups come in, it will only be your group at the lodge.
Right.
We do not intermix them.
Yeah.
And as long as there's 6 or more, that's how we keep it. We want you guys to have a very intimate setting with the African experience.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something that you touched on just a minute ago. You mentioned, Rick, our first trip over there, I remember Elizabeth and I, we were sitting out one night, and when you can hear at dusk, you can hear the lions roar, and you can hear the sounds of nature that you never thought you would hear.
It's in the movies.
It's amazing what it does to you. It reverberates your soul.
Yeah.
And you find yourself contemplating, I have a good life back home.
Yeah.
But is it the right life?
Yeah.
And I think that's a question we all have to ask ourselves. So for Elizabeth and I, when we sat down and made the conscious decision, and like most of us, I overmarried, right? She's the reasonable one, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just go figure it out. I'll jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down. That's how I do things. A lot of us guys are like that. But to create a legacy, not only for our family, but for your family, that those kids will grow up, your kids will grow up and say, man, Dad, when can we go back to that place in Africa?
Yeah, I guarantee it.
That's awesome.
My mom says, you're bringing the boys, right? And I says, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm just trying to see, how this all pans out and everything. But I says, I'm pretty sure I'm going to. And she says, you have to. Locke's favorite thing on earth is the zoo. Every time, he says, I want to go to the zoo. Every morning he wakes up. Every morning. This morning I went into the room and he's waking up and I said, what you doing, baby? And he says, can we go to Grandpa Kendall's? And I said, because it's a farm. Yeah. And I says, we'll try. And he says, I want to go to the zoo every day. And my mom says, for him to see a giraffe, not, in a, pen, and out there running around, it's like, it's going to change. And everybody always says, why do you take your kids? They're not going to remember it. And I'm like, I will.
Yeah.
You know, like I will remember, playing on the beach in Italy with my little boy. I don't need him to remember it. Like, so you don't do anything till they remember. That's a good philosophy.
Yeah.
But no, man, I'm excited. Like I said, is there anything else you can think of, Ryan? Any other questions? I'm going through my list
too.
here.
Yeah. No, I'm excited too. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to try to, my oldest son is really into hunting, and he's also 16. So
Yeah,
he's
getting pulled.
He's got sports, and he's got his girlfriend, he's got this and that. And
Yeah.
so initially he's like, I don't know, Dad, but I'm going to have him listen to this one.
I really
and
think
say,
you
need to come with us.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest thing for me was when my parents, who've been there 4 times, and I showed them the Buffelspan video on YouTube, and they're like, "We want to go. Do you have room?" And I'm like, "Really?" And I says, "You don't have to go. Like, don't do it for me." And they're like, "This is different. This is something special." And I'm like, "That's cool." So I think I'm excited to experience it myself. Like I said, M42 Adventures is selfish for me. Like I'm doing this because I want to go and do these amazing things and learn all these outdoor adventures and different things. And this is no different. I've always wanted to go to Africa, and I'm very grateful for Paul and Elizabeth for, I'm an entrepreneur. It's all I've ever known. And I love stories like this. I love people who take chances. They're doers. They don't talk, and change lives. And so I am excited for this, and hopefully it'll bloom into more.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming, Paul.
Thanks,
so
Paul.
people
Appreciate
can
it.
go to, how do people reach you? I mean, if they want to reach out, Buffelspan.
They can go to the Buffelspan website,
Okay.
which is very simple. It's Buffelspan Game Lodge.co.za,
Okay.
which is just how it is.
Okay.
And my contact's on there.
Okay.
Johan's contact's on there. They can email me at paul@buffelspangamelodge.com.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Most people are going to have the same 10 or 12 questions.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
we've covered a lot of them today. And if I could leave with anything, just the fact that I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come down, meet Ryan, and obviously spend time with you, Rick. And I think this is a relationship that we can build on every year and create something not only unique for the individual, but something that will help with our family's legacies
Absolutely.
for years to come.
Yeah.
We want Buffelspan, Elizabeth and I want Buffelspan to be a place where people come and say, man, we did a lot of things, but we really liked what we did there.
Yeah. And that's it. For me, life is relationships. And so I'm excited to start this one. And thanks for coming out. So yeah,
Thanks,
we'll
Paul.
wrap it up.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that was my conversation with Paul Silvis, Buffelspan Game Lodge, and that was amazing. As you can see and hear, what an experience. Ryan Mickler was actually in on the conversation. He was able to join us today, and he actually went home and said, I'm going to bring my son after having that conversation. So that was a great one. That gave us a lot of information, even me and Ryan, who are both attending. We've got an experience with Paul, as you heard, and we're going to be doing some hunts out there in Africa in August and September. And we got a lot of information from that as well. So I hope you did. Paul is obviously a great person. He started this out of, he's set for life as far as finances and stuff like that. He is doing this because he loves animals. He loves taking people on adventures, and he wanted to make sure the experience was what he would want if he was going to Africa. So that's what he's created. 5-star. I mean, you heard all the details. Absolutely amazing. I can't wait. I'm taking my entire family, my wife, my 3 little boys, all under the age of 12, my mother and my father, who have been to Africa 4 times. And then once they heard the details, they said we're in. So this is going to be an experience that is not just a hunt. We've got helicopter rides. We've got, we're giving back to the community. I mean, you heard it all. Absolutely amazing conversation. I am so excited, 10 times more excited than I even was before. So thank you, Paul, for coming in today, traveling all the way here, catching the flights. I really sincerely appreciate it. That was amazing. I'm looking forward to this. If you want to look up Paul, he said again, Buffelspan Game Lodge. You can go find him. He's got his information and his phone number on there, and I hope you can join me, Ryan, Paul, all in Africa this fall. The spots are filling up fast. We sold about half of them. You don't have to be a hunter as well. You can come and we actually sold a couple tickets to people who want to just come take photos and enjoy the helicopter ride. And Paul actually mentioned to us after that we stopped recording that at breakfast, you can sit there and have breakfast and watch the animals, even giraffes, getting water out of a trough right there on the property. So absolutely amazing experience. I'm excited. That's the reason that I started this podcast. That's the reason I've started this company. And these are the things that we're going to be doing. So thank you, Paul, for coming in. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you are new to us, which most of you are, because this is our third podcast, go check us out on all social media platforms, www.m42adventures.com, and YouTube. We're just getting set up. We're building our merch store, all these different things, apparel, different things like that. So come check us out, like us, follow us if you enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully we can get you out to some of these experiences or hunts, shake your hand, meet you in person, and start changing lives. That's the purpose of this for me. So thank you for listening. Great episode. Let's go on to the next one. Talk to you soon.